What's up, guys? This is Alex here from 814 EDC, and today I am ready to do my full review on the Kershaw Bareknuckle. So this is a Smoky Mountain Knives exclusive, so it has the 20 CV blade. A little backstory on why I wanted to pick this specific knife up. So I had a trade lined up probably about a month ago at this time. I had the SOG Terminus XR, which I've done a video on. I was trying to sell it, and a guy messaged me and said, hey, would you be interested in trading it for a Kershaw Blur in M4, which is one of their factory exclusives, or one of their sprint runs that they started doing within like the past year or so, where they take one of their knives or like one of their pre-existing models and they upgrade it in like the steel department and make it an exclusive or a sprint run. And I was like, yeah, I'll do that trade 100%. So long story short, that trade ended up falling through because he had other stuff he had to take care of and stuff like that. So I ended up selling this to SOG. Not really, doesn't really matter for this story, but that kind of got me on a kick for wanting to try one of Kershaw's more premium models. And probably about a week later, one of the guys I follow on Instagram, he was selling a couple of these and a couple of the Blur M4s, but in the gray aluminum instead of the blue like I was going to be trading for. So I was talking to the guy, and I was seeing which one I wanted to get, and I ultimately went with this one for two reasons. The Blur is assisted, and this is not. This is on bearings, so I wanted to try one of Kershaw's, see what their de-assisted models were like on bearings. And this already had a deep carry paw clip, which the Blur did not, and I would have wanted to buy one to put on that. So that was like an extra $30 because I think MXG Gear makes one, excuse me. But so I ultimately went with this one, and I kind of have mixed reviews about it. There's a couple things that I think it's just my knife in general. I don't think it's the whole factory line of knives that have come out of this, but we'll get into that. So starting off with materials, like I said, this is the Smoky Mountain Knives exclusive. So you have this nice blacked out kind of model. They did the black in a stonewash and then the black in the black, which I thought the black on black looked really, really cool. But you get a 20 CV blade, which is really, really nice. Made in the USA, which is another perk. The blade is really long. I would just call it, kind of a modified drop point. Reminds me of like a really long, like a toucan's nose or a beak or something like that. But I believe it's a flat grind. It's not super thin behind the edge, but it's not terrible. It's kind of somewhere right in the middle. The knife blade in general is relatively thin. The stock, is relatively thin. You have these, I forget what type of aluminum, but nicely brushed aluminum. They feel really good in the hand. Hardware, everything is blacked out on this knife. You get like I said, a deep carry pocket, which is loop over style. It's like mini, which I really, really like on knives. Goes to the butt end of the knife, so that's a really good point from this, because I love when deep carry paw clips come on knives and you don't have to upgrade them to a deep carry clip, because I think that's essential. And then this is a frame lock, but it has like the frame lock insert, so it's not like a full true frame lock, and that's where some of the issues occur with this knife. So I think that's all for materials. Skeletonized, there's no skeletonized liners, it's just full aluminum. But for how big the knife is, I think it's like a 3.5 inch blade, so this is definitely a bigger knife for me. I don't normally get knives this big. It's relatively lightweight. It feels really good in the hand, but we'll get to Ergos a little bit later. So jumping into action, this knife does have a flipper tab. So that's the main way of deploying the knife. It's, I guess, the only way of deploying the knife. Now this is on, I think, KVT bearings, and flipping is decent. Actually, if I can get it out, I do that sometimes. I'm not used to frame locks, so sometimes I have my finger on the frame lock insert. But as long as you give it some gas, it comes flying right out of there. See, I'm not a huge fan of this knife, guys, if I'm being completely honest. There's some good things I like about it, and there's some bad things. I'm not really used to a frame lock, But the action's decent. You know, I will say it right now. I haven't had a chance to get in and, you know, clean it out and add lube and stuff like that, because when I was taking it apart, I think it was like the second to last or the last screw that I had to take out. It's under the pocket clip here. I don't know if you can see. Yeah, you can kind of see them. Those two screws that aren't part of the pocket clip, that are technically in front of the pocket clip screws, I think they go to the lock bar insert. And I don't know what Kershaw, I don't know if they use the red Loctite, which is like really, really strong, because I had a tough time getting some of these screws out because they were like concreted in there, and it was kind of a pain in the butt. And I got to like these last two screws, and I mean, granted, I didn't have the best uh, tools. I was using, like, for the longest time I used like a cheap Husky driver from like Walmart or something like that, and then I had like the Kershaw pen with the driver bits, which they worked fine. I recently upgraded to some Weehaw bits, so I finally have some more quality tools. But with it being so like Loctited in there so much, I ended up stripping the screw, so I wasn't able to get the knife apart and clean it and do stuff like that. So I don't know what to do with that. Ultimately, spoiler alert, I'm going to try to sell this knife because I have really no interest in keeping it. So that's with the strip screw and like the tough Loctiting. That's one of the two issues I've had with this knife. But the other one's more frustrating to me. So, but due to the strip screw, I'm not able to, you know, tune the action and make it a little bit more better, I guess you could say. But yeah, so you flick it out, and like I said, as long as you give it enough gas, it comes flying right out of there. As long as your finger's not applying too much pressure on the lock bar insert, which I tend to do sometimes. But closing, you just knock it out of the way. It drops to like right here. It doesn't even hit my finger. It stops, and then it's not drop shutty. I don't know if it's able to become more drop shutty once you get it, you know, add some lubricant to it or stuff like that. But then I just normally shake it closed. It's not bad by any means, but it's not the best. But it's above average, I'd say. So, but I guess I'll just include this in the action. So the other thing that really bugs me and kind of upsets me over this knife, so obviously you have a lock bar insert, and when you just normally flick it open and the lock bar engages, I don't know if you guys are going to be able to pick this up on camera, but so the lock bar is engaged, kind of. So it's a very early lockup, but hopefully you guys can hear this. If you guys can hear that rattling, I'm hoping it comes up on camera. But basically what I've established that noise to be is, say, this hand is the lock bar insert, and this hand is the tang of the blade. Normally, they're supposed to be like kind of smashed up against each other, so they're not really moving until you disengage the lock. But in this case with my knife, I feel like it's the lock bar insert doesn't go the whole way up, and it doesn't like fully engage with the tang. It's there and it's keeping it locked, but it kind of moves back and forth, and it allows itself to like, it's very easy to, you know, manipulate it out of the way, and it just does not like. I'm hoping I'm explaining this well enough for you guys, because that's how I'm kind of thinking about it in my head. But that's what, hopefully you guys can hear that rattle. It feels loose, and I don't like that feeling at all. Like it kind of bugs the hell out of me. And I don't know if that's just something from the factory that went wrong or what happened, but that's really the biggest reason why I'm not liking this knife, because I don't know if they just didn't make the lock bar insert like a hair longer so it would lock up. Because I found when I open it, I tend to take my middle finger and I push the lock bar over so it's like fully engaged with it, and then there's no shaking, and then it's like good to go, and it feels very, very secure. But just on a normal flip, it's just, I don't like it. So I don't know, but that's the way I kind of interpret it, is it's just not fully engaged with the tang. It's touching it, but there's like a lot of wiggle room in there. So it's like they didn't make the lock bar insert just like a hair longer. So that's a big concern for me, because for one, I don't like having my knives feel like they're loose and like they're like not quality. And obviously I can fix that by pushing over the lock bar, but I shouldn't have to worry about that when I'm opening my knife to use it. Like that's just, to me, that's bad quality control on Kershaw's part, which, I mean, it's Kershaw we're talking about here, so I guess that doesn't really surprise me that much when I really think about it in the grand scheme of things. So, but yeah, that's, hopefully you guys were able to hear that on camera, and hopefully you guys were able to understand, my interpretation of how or why it was causing that. So, but I guess we'll jump into Ergos next, which Ergos are really good for this thing. I really like it. It's a very, very thin knife, and for being a bigger knife, my hand, it fits on this thing really, really nicely. There is some jimping up top here, and then there is a little bit of jimping on the flipper tab. I don't know if you guys are going to pick that up or not. But the aluminum is just very comfortable. It's very, rounded in a lot of places, and it's just nice to hold. And I'm able to get all 4 fingers on there with, I can probably fit another pinky if I had a 5th or a 6th finger on there. But yeah, Ergos, really, really good. You just get locked in, and I do like this with the Ergos part. I thought to myself, if this didn't have the issues that I've described, this would be like a really good work knife, I think, or like an outdoor knife, because 20 CV is a really, really good blade steel, and it's a bigger blade, has a lot of cutting length to it, and I was planning on using this as like my dedicated work knife, but as you've already heard, I fully plan on selling this knife. So like if you're watching it, reach out to me, send me a comment, message me on Instagram if you're looking to buy this, even with the issues I've described, which I'm hoping I'm going to be able to sell it. I don't know how well it's going to go, but yeah, so Ergos, really, really good. All 4 fingers, very comfortable, very thin, just really well done with the Ergos. And then carry, the pot clip, like I said, is loop over style, deep carry, goes to the butt end of the knife. It is, a mini deep carry clip. It is a little bit tight, I've noticed, the couple times I have carried it, but the knife is super thin, and then, it just sits way down in the pocket. Maybe your hand would brush the flipper tab, which is common with, all knives that have flippers on them, but it carries pretty well for how, I would consider this a decent sized knife, for me at least, but it carries very, very well, so. My last kind of thing I want to go over is price point, which I like to do after I go over every other category, kind of bring everything together. Brand new, these went for the DLC coated ones, went for $109, so $110, and then the Stonewash went for $99, $100. So I think that's a solid price point, especially because you're getting a USA made knife in 20 CV, really nice aluminum, a deep carry clip. Action could be pretty solid, I think, if you're able to get it apart and stuff like that. It opens pretty well. So I just said pretty twice there. I don't know what I was doing, but yeah. Would I recommend it? I don't know, because seeing with how mine was constructed and how I think that this came like this from the factory, I don't know if I'd recommend it. If I knew that it was going to come, 100% correct out of the box, and it was going to work and function and feel like a really well-made knife. I had good expectations for this, because I was reading through the reviews on Smoky Mountain Knives of this, and a lot of people, well, I don't know how a lot of people, but I definitely saw some comments saying like this has like the quality feel of a ZT, which is the more premium brand of Kershaw, at a Kershaw price point. And I was like, man, that's really good. That's because I've never had a ZT, but I've seen a lot of their models, and that's good praise that this knife feels like a ZT. So I kind of had, decently high expectations coming in with it. And I was a little disappointed I was let down. I think this knife could be really, really well done. and I think it has a lot of good things going for it, but it just makes me, hesitate to really recommend it because, I wouldn't want to recommend it to someone and have them get the same issue I did. So, but I did buy this on the secondary for a better price. I'm not going to say what I bought it for, but it was definitely cheaper than the factory price. So maybe if you can get one on the secondary like I did and find it for $10-20 off, I would maybe consider pulling the trigger then, because what's the word I'm looking for? If everything works out well, you're going to be getting a really nice knife at a cheaper price point with really good materials and everything like that. So, but I would hesitate to recommend it just due to the fact that I think this came like this from the factory, from Kershaw. And that their quality control is a little so the heck just fell. Something just fell off my wall, a picture or something. But so yeah, guys, I guess I'm gonna kind of wrap it up there. This is the full review of the Kershaw Bareknuckle Smoky Mountain Knives Exclusive in 20 CV. A good knife with, I think, a lot of potentially good things going for it, but it just isn't for me. I would just much rather try to get my money back out of it to go towards something that is more well built and that I would carry a lot more than this. So yeah, guys, thank you for stopping in and for checking out this video. Leave a comment down below, if you have experienced a Bareknuckle or a Smoky Mountain Knives Bareknuckle. I think they're all sold out from the website, so if they aren't sold out, I'll leave a link in the description. If not, if there's no link in the description, that they're sold out. So yeah, guys, thank you for stopping in. I really appreciate you guys watching my videos and subscribing to me and just talking to me, and stuff like that. I really, really enjoy that. That's one of my favorite parts of doing YouTube. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.